Before the sun rises above the rooftops of the medieval town, the world is quiet in a way that feels almost unnatural. A pale mist lingers between the narrow streets, drifting around stone walls and wooden beams, softening every edge it touches. The town is still asleep, or at least pretending it to be. Behind closed shutters and bolted doors, families lie awake in silence, listening for footsteps, bells, or the dreaded sound of a cart stopping outside. In a small stone room above one of these streets, a plague doctor begins to stir. His room is plain and narrow, with a wooden bed, a heavy blanket, a small table, and shelves lined with jars of dried herbs. A candle burns low beside the wall, throwing a weak golden light across the room. He sits up slowly, listening. Somewhere in the distance, a church bell marks the hour. A cart wheel creaks over cobblestone. A dog barks once, then stops. The doctor rises and crosses to the window, opening the shutter just enough to let in the cold dawn air. From here, he can see the rooftops fading into fog, chimneys barely breathing smoke into the morning sky. Another day has begun, and with it, another procession of worried faces, darkened rooms, and uncertain remedies. The plague doctor turns from the window and begins the careful ritual of dressing, a process that has become as familiar to him as prayer. On the table lies the uniform that separates him from every other man in town: the long, dark cloak, the leather gloves, the broad hat, and the beaked mask that has become a symbol of sickness and fragile hope. He lifts the cloak first, its heavy fabric falling in dark folds as he drapes it over his shoulders. Then the gloves, stiff from use, pulled tightly over his fingers. Last comes the mask. Before fastening it in place, he opens a small carved wooden box and reaches inside for the dried herbs he keeps there: rosemary, lavender, mint, and a little clove. One by one, he places them into the hollow beak. The scent rises at once, sharp and earthy, almost comforting. People say the plague travels in poisoned air, and the herbs are meant to soften or cleanse what he breathes. Whether that is true, he cannot say. But the ritual itself matters. It prepares the mind as much as the body. When the mask is tied behind his head and the glass lenses settle before his eyes, the world narrows. He sees less, hears more, and feels himself becoming the figure the town expects. Not merely a man, but the doctor. He takes up his staff, opens the door, and steps into the cold morning. Outside, the air is cold and wet with fog. The streets are narrower than they seem in daylight, pressed between leaning timber houses whose upper stories almost touch above the lane. The plague doctor walks slowly, his staff tapping against the stones in a steady rhythm. That sound travels farther than he expects in the quiet, and more than once he sees a curtain twitch or a shutter move as someone watches him pass. There was a time when these streets were filled with market sellers, apprentices, children, and gossip. Now they are strangely hollow. A wagon stands abandoned near a square, its wheels sunk in mud. A basket has been left beside a doorstep and never taken in. At one corner, a woman sweeps her threshold quickly, glancing up when she sees him, then dropping her eyes again. To many in the town, the plague doctor is both a relief and a warning. If he is walking toward your house, help may be coming. But it also means the sickness is near. He passes a chapel, its bell tower disappearing into the mist, and turns into a lane even narrower than the last. The smell here is stronger: smoke, damp straw, stale water, and the faint medicinal scent of the herbs inside his own mask. Ahead at the end of the lane, a boy stands in the doorway of a house, waiting. When he sees the doctor, he vanishes inside. The first patient of the day is there. The boy opens the door only wide enough to let the doctor enter. Inside, the room is dark, low-ceilinged, and close with the smell of sweat, smoke, and sickness. A woman stands near the hearth, twisting her hands in her apron, while an older man sits motionless on a stool, staring at the floor. In the corner, on a narrow bed, lies the patient, a young man no older than 20, pale beneath the blanket, breathing shallowly. The plague doctor moves quietly across the room. His presence alone seems to change the air. Conversations stop. Movements become smaller. Every sound grows careful. He asks when the fever began, how long he has been weak, whether swelling appeared first at the neck or under the arm. The mother answers in a trembling voice. He listens, then bends close enough to observe without touching more than necessary. He notes the heat of the skin, the dryness of the lips, the dullness in the eyes. From his satchel, he removes a small cloth packet of herbs and a vial of bitter-smelling liquid. He gives instructions for boiling water, for cooling the room, for keeping the patient covered but not overheated. He knows that some recover and many do not. The family knows it too, yet they cling to every word because words are all they have. Before leaving, the doctor pauses beside the bed and rests the end of his staff lightly on the floor. "We continue," he says softly. "It is not a promise, but it is enough to keep the room from collapsing into despair." Back on the street, the plague doctor steps into a quieter patch of morning light and opens the small leather notebook he keeps in his satchel. Its pages are rough, stained from damp fingers and weather, but each entry matters. He writes the family name, the location of the house, the age of the patient, the symptoms observed, fever, swelling, weakness, breath unsteady. In times like these, records become a form of control, however small. Town officials want numbers, streets, patterns. They want to know where death moves, where it lingers, and whether there is any part of the town still untouched. The doctor has long since learned that his work is not only with patients, but with information. He closes the notebook and tucks it away as another bell sounds from the town center. The fog has begun to thin now. More doors are opening. A baker carries a tray of bread from one building to another, moving quickly. Two men in rough coats load sacks onto a cart without speaking. Life continues, even under the shadow of disease. The plague doctor turns into the market square, where stalls stand only half filled, and the usual noise is muted. A few people stop and watch him cross. Some make the sign of the cross. Others simply look away. He keeps walking. Somewhere beyond the square, another house waits, another room, another family holding its breath until he arrives. By midday, the market square has begun to stir, though it is quieter than it once was. Only a handful of stalls remain open beneath faded cloth canopies. Bread, onions, and dried fish sit carefully arranged, but few people linger long enough to browse. The plague doctor walks slowly across the square. His dark cloak and strange mask draw quiet attention. A mother gently pulls her child closer. A merchant pauses his work as the doctor passes. Near the old stone fountain, a town clerk approaches with a small sheet of parchment. He asks the doctor about the number of sick in the lower quarter. The doctor answers calmly, "More cases than yesterday." fewer than last week. The clerk writes quickly and leaves. The doctor stands for a moment in the center of the square, listening to the muted sounds of the town. Soft voices, footsteps, and the rustle of cloth. Then he turns toward the poorer streets, where sickness often spreads the fastest. Beyond the market lies the poorer part of town. The streets are narrower here, the houses closer together, and the air carries the smell of smoke and damp wood. Illness spreads quickly in places like this. The plague doctor stops at several small homes, knocking softly before entering. Inside one house, an elderly woman rests beside a weak fire. In another, a worried father asks whether his children are safe. The doctor answers gently, offering herbs when he has them and advice when he does not. His visits are quiet and careful. Sometimes medicine helps. Sometimes reassurance is all he can give. But each knock on a door means someone has not been forgotten. As evening begins to fall, the doctor finally turns toward home. The sky above the town glows softly with fading gold and pale blue. Lanterns begin to appear in windows. People move quietly through the streets, eager to return indoors before night. The doctor walks slowly now, tired from the long day. He passes the chapel again and hears the low murmur of evening prayers. Somewhere behind the walls of the town, families wait through the night, hoping fever will fade by morning. The doctor cannot know which patients will recover, but tomorrow he will return and try again. Back in his small room, the doctor closes the door and removes his gloves. The mask comes off last. When the straps loosen and the beaked mask lifts away, the cool air feels fresh against his face. He sets the mask gently on the table and empties the dried herbs from the beak. Their scent is faint now, after the long day. After washing his hands and tools, he sits beside the candlelight and records the final notes in his small notebook. Outside, the town grows quieter. The day is finished. Night settles slowly over the town. Lanterns dim behind wooden shutters, and the streets fall silent once more. From his window, the doctor looks out over the rooftops. Mist drifts between the narrow streets, and above them, the stars begin to appear. Tomorrow he will walk these same streets again, knocking on doors, helping where he can. But for now, the town sleeps, and the plague doctor rests with it.